Hello everyone, my name is Leah Belletto and you might be used to seeing me on Newsround, but today I'm hosting something a little different but very special and very exciting. Today is the publication day of the Ichabod by J.K. Rowling, and we're celebrating this with a very unique event with the author herself in Edinburgh. This is, of course, her first children's book since the Harry Potter series, and it's a lovely fairy tale for younger children and can be enjoyed by all of you and your families as well. Now, I'm going to be asking some questions first, and then we'll be having some questions from some very special guests. But first of all, Jo, hello and congratulations on publication day. It must be so exciting for you.
It really is. Thank you very much. Very exciting.
It's quite a unique journey, the Ichabod, to getting published, because you wrote this, I believe, quite a while ago.
I did. I had the idea for the Ichabod, I think, maybe 12, 13 years ago. It's a long time ago. And I read it aloud to my children when they were very small, my younger two children. And I always loved it, but when I decided I wasn't going to publish a children's book after Harry Potter next, it went up into the attic and there it stayed. And over time, I think I just felt the moment had passed somehow. But then we ended up going through a very strange moment this year, and so the Ichabod resurfaced.
And you decided from the beginning that the proceeds of this book would go to those charities that can help people affected by the coronavirus. Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, yes, that's correct. What's going to happen is that the royalties from the published books are going to go to my charitable trust, and then they will be given to medical and frontline charities dealing with people who are affected by COVID-19, and that's in the UK and internationally. And then as time goes on, and we'll hopefully have more royalties to distribute, then we'll be able to give it to those groups who are most vulnerable and who need help at this time.
That's wonderful. Now, one of the most exciting things, I think, about the story is that it was obviously serialised online, but then your publishers decided that they wanted to run a competition where children could illustrate parts of the book. Have you enjoyed looking at all the entries that were sent in to you?
Well, that was actually my idea in the beginning. When I got the Ichabod out of the box where it had been for such a long time, I was thinking as I read, this should be an illustrated book. And I wanted to do something. We were on strict lockdown at the time, as you know, and I wanted to do something for children, to give them something that they could enjoy, but also something that they could do. And so I had the idea that children could illustrate the book, and we would run a competition. And that competition, I think it's safe to say, went beyond my wildest imaginings. I think we had overall about 60,000 entries, which was mind-blowing. And wow. Yeah, in the end, we could only have 34 pictures in each of the editions of the book, which was frustrating for me because, but at the same time, if I'd been judging, we'd probably have a book sort of this big, because I would have put all the pictures in. They were amazing.
So hard. Well, you've got the finished book, haven't you, next to you? And yes. Today you're going to be answering some questions from some of the winners. There it is, of the illustration competition, because this was a worldwide competition, and we'll have some of the winners joining us from not only the UK, but from Ireland, India, the US, Canada, Australia and New Zealand. So first of all, Jo, we have Ewan from Fife in Scotland. Hello, Ewan, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you.
Such an exciting day. Now, your winning drawing is actually from chapter 54, and it illustrates a part of the story where the Ichabod explains its origin. Please, can you hold up the book to show us the drawing?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, wow. You've drawn a really, really powerful image there, Ewan. Can you tell us what it was in particular about that chapter that sort of inspired that powerful drawing?
The chapter was about like feelings of hatred and anger, and I thought that the volcano could really demonstrate those feelings. Yeah, quite like that. what a volcano would do for that.
You've definitely achieved that. I'm quite interested to know what you enjoyed about reading the Ichabod. What stood out for you?
I quite like the story because it was kind of a bit of magic and mystery combined with evil and trickery, and I thought it was like great to read a new book during lockdown.
Perfect. And you have a question for JK. This is your big moment. Go ahead.
When you found the book in your attic, what made you feel like you should publish it?
Well, I think I'm married to a doctor, and I have another doctor in my family, and I think like a lot of creative people, Ewan, we wanted to do something to help at this time. You know, we were watching all these immensely brave key workers going out and doing all this work for all of us. And I was thinking, what can I do that's meaningful to help at this time? And I thought of, I particularly thought of children probably younger than you, who were stuck at home, can't see their friends, and parents trying to homeschool and, you know, keep them entertained and amused. And I thought, yeah, I've got something in the attic that might be able to help with that. So that's really how it came about. But it's been an amazing experience for me. I read the story to my kids when they were younger, and just bringing it out again and sharing it with so many young people was incredible. And for your age group, people who really understand the themes of the story and relate to it on perhaps a slightly deeper level, I found it so satisfying to hear people's ideas and interpretations. And your illustration is such a magnificent example of that. I know the lines that you've illustrated, and that sort of primal emotion of rage and anger. And there's a line, the blood poured on the land like rain. And I think you've just encapsulated that with that volcanic image. So I was very glad you won.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for that lovely question, Ewan, and of course the brilliant illustration too. Now we're moving across to another winner this time, and it's in India, and it's Divyaman. Divyaman, are you there?
Hi.
Now, your illustration, it's at the end of chapter 34. It's a good one because it shows Mr. Dovetail with long hair, doesn't it, and a white beard. Can you just hold up the book and show us your picture, please? Oh, wow. Look at that. And this combines some of your passions, doesn't it, of drawing portraits. Tell us a little bit about your drawing.
I like to do portraits because I like to read about people and then I draw them. I like it because everyone has same things on their faces, but still everyone looks different.
And I hear that during lockdown, it was quite important for you to draw every day. Tell us how that experience helped you during this time.
I also draw in the lockdown and I draw every day.
Oh, wonderful. Do you have a question for Joe?
Yeah, my question to Joe is that do you have the story and characters in your mind before you write a story, or you imagine them while writing the story?
That is I love this question, because the answer is it probably happens a different way every time for me. Sometimes the first idea is of the plot, and you find the characters as you go. And sometimes the whole story grows out of a character. So it's an excellent question. And can I just say, I think your portrait of Mr. Dovetail is just magnificent. I really do. He looks kind. He looks as though he's been through real hardship, which of course he has. And I just think you did a portrait of a very brave man. I loved it. In the case of the Ichabod, the characters really came to me fully formed. I had ideas about each of them, and they didn't really change through the writing of the story. But what first came to me was the idea of the monster. So really, the whole story came out of the Ichabod itself.
Well, thank you very much, Divyaman. Next, we have a question from the US. This is Manvik. He's joining us from California. Now, Manvik, your illustration is from chapter 36, and this is from the USA and Canadian edition. And it's actually the scene from the orphanage. Could you just hold that up for us? to have a look?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Now, this competition, that's brilliant, was two of your favourite interests. Can you tell us a bit more about that, Manvik?
Well, I'm a really big fan of J.K. Rowling's work, and I was really excited when I found the Ichabod online. I really like drawing and painting, so when I found the competition, it was I really liked it, and it was a perfect combination for both my interests.
And tell us a bit about your passion for libraries and your school library in particular.
Yes. So during the pandemic, my library has helped me a lot and supported me by letting us check out books and delivering it to us by curbside pickup. The librarian also hosts events like book signings, and that's where I learned the excitement of getting a book signed.
I love libraries. I spent a lot of my time right about your age in libraries too. But Manvik, here is your chance now to put your question to J.K. Rowling. Go ahead.
Thank you. So my question is, what inspired the names of the characters and places in the Ichabod?
That's another excellent question. Let me firstly say that I am now a fan of yours. That picture is amazing, the picture of the orphanage. And it's such an important location in the story, as you know. And I was thrilled when I saw which picture had been chosen, because I thought yours was fabulous. Anyway, what was the question? Yes, names in the story. So the names for all the cities obviously all come from the foodstuffs that they produce. So that was kind of fun to create. And I liked the idea of calling the king Fred, because what I really like, I think it really sums Fred up as a character, that he just chooses fearless, not because he is fearless, but because it sounds good with Fred. You know, that's a very Fredish choice. But the most important name in the whole book is the name of the Ichabod itself, because that came from the word Ichabod, or the name, which is sometimes also used as a proper name. And the meaning of that word is without honor, or sometimes it's translated as the glory has departed. And so it was a play on that word, because the monster is used in a way that means honor departs the kingdom of cornucopia, except in a few heroic characters. So yeah, that was probably the most important name for me, but actually that came to me right at the start when I was writing the story. So the name and the creature came together, names are very important to me, and they often do help me create the character. So, great question.
But let's now head to Canada, where we've got Clara standing by in Vancouver. Hello, Clara. Clara, you did an illustration from chapter 13 of the USA and the Canadian edition, and it's of a dog tangled up in brambles. Can we have a look at that illustration, my lovely? Oh, wow.
Amazing.
Oh, I love that so much. It's so vivid. Can you tell us a little bit about the themes in the Ichabod and why it appealed to you the most?
I like the Ichabod eyes full of tears and catching the brambles. I like the Ichabod eyes full of tears because I like drawing eyes and emotion in them. I like catching the brambles because dogs are very kind, faithful, and forgiving animals.
Can you tell us, Clara, a bit about your drawing and what inspired you to create such a lovely drawing?
My dog inspired me to do it. Yeah, I have 3 of them. So one of them, Rose, has very flaky cheeks. I used her flaky cheeks, and I used another one of my dog's ears.
That sounds brilliant. Clara, would you like to now ask JK a question?
Which characters do you enjoy making more, good ones or evil ones?
Clara, that is an excellent question, because I think a lot of people, I'm often asked whether it's more fun to create the baddies. And it can be real fun to create someone like Spittleworth, who's so evil and so cunning. But I do really enjoy creating the good characters. I think that the good characters in the Ichabod, they're all good in very different ways. So, for example, Mrs. Beamish, who's one of my favourite characters, Mrs. Beamish, the pastry cook, she's someone who has to recognise that she's believed a lot of lies. She has to believe, she has to come to terms with the fact that she was wrong in believing what she believed. And she's so brave and she deals with that so courageously. And then you have someone like Mr. Dovetail, who from the start isn't fooled by what's going on, but who manages somehow to survive because he holds on to his love for his daughter. So I really enjoy both kinds. And can I just say, I have 2 dogs. I'm really envious that you've got 3, but I don't think my husband will let me have another one. The two of them he feels are enough. But I love your picture so much. And I love it even more now you've explained that your dog's inspired it. So thank you.
So thank you, Clara. Next, we have Ella from Australia, where I know it's really early in the morning there. So thank you so much for getting up for us. Now you're calling us actually from Kangaroo Island, where you're camping with your school. Good morning, Ella.
Good morning.
Now your illustration is from chapter 24, and well, it looks good enough to eat. Can you show us that picture? Oh,
Amazing.
yum, yum. Yes, I could do with a bit of those pastries. Ella, I wanted to ask you why you were keen to enter the competition to start with.
So I was keen to enter because I have always been inspired by Jo's writing and her imagination, and it has always been one of my dreams to be a part of like her book, whether it be me writing part of it or having my illustration in it.
So how do you feel? I know you're beaming away there, but how do you feel about being a winner?
I was so excited and I couldn't believe that I won. And I felt like I was winning a golden ticket from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And I have been thinking about winning, like the moment of winning ever since. And I'm very grateful for this opportunity. And I would like to thank Jo for giving everybody in the world affected by COVID-19 to have something nice to think about.
Oh, well, thank you, Ella. And without further ado, would you like to ask your idol a question?
So when you first thought of the Ichabog, did you have an idea about what it looked like and how does that compare to the one that has been chosen?
Well, Ella, let me first of all say what an honour it is to be in a book with you. I love your picture, and we had so many amazing pictures of all the pastries and the cakes, and I really loved yours. So I was thrilled when it was chosen. It's just gorgeous. So my idea of the Ichabog, I actually in the dusty box I got down from the attic, I found a sketch that I'd done for myself of the Ichabog, and in fact, it's incredibly like the one that's in the book. I do describe it in a lot of detail when you finally meet the Ichabog in the story. So he's sort of lovable and scary at the same time. He's scary because of his size, and his shining eyes are a little bit creepy. But in fact, as we find out, the Ichabog isn't quite what he's been painted to be. So yeah, I've loved the whole experience, and what you've just said about, you know, giving people something nice to think about. The feeling was really mutual, because as the chapters were going up online every weekday, it really gave me something wonderful to look forward to too, because I knew I was going to see some more pictures and I was going to get to, you know, speak to readers. I just loved getting the feedback from the stories, and it reminded me how much I love writing for your age group. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ella. Next, we're going to Ilias, who's joining us from Ireland, whose illustration is the Ichabod eating mushrooms. Hi, Ilias, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Now, your illustration is at the end of chapter, it's 52, isn't it? Yeah. And it's of the Ichabod. So let's have a look. Hold it up. Oh, yes, loving that. Now, I hear you've been watching lots of sort of videos of illustrators, haven't you?
Yeah,
tell us more about that.
Well, during lockdown, we watched Jack Barnett put up lots of um, books that he had written, and we watched um, Mo Willems put some of his drawings up, and John Klassen too. And I really enjoyed watching those videos, and it was. And then when the Ichabod came up, we sort of mixed the both together.
And what was it about your illustration that you enjoyed the most? Tell us a bit about the creative process for you.
It was the first installment that involved drawing the Ichabod, so I was just really excited about drawing the Ichabod.
Well, it's a big hit, I'm sure. What's your question to Joe, Elias?
My question is pounded you the pastry that inspired your hopes of heaven?
I couldn't believe this question because when I saw that you were going to ask this question, because I had advance warning, I suddenly thought, is that where I got the idea? Because I lived in Portugal for a while. I love Portugal. I love the language and I love the food. And I suddenly thought, was that in the back of my mind with Hopes of Heaven? So the honest answer is, I don't know. But imagination is a peculiar beast. And it's very possible that somewhere in my subconscious, that idea was lurking and that it came out as Hopes of Heaven. So you reminded me of something I'd forgotten. And I just need to say how much I love your Ichabod. I absolutely love your Ichabod. It's perfect. So thank you.
We are now heading to New Zealand with Sienna, and again, it's quite early in the morning, isn't it, Sienna? So thank you so much for being with us. Your illustration, it's right next to you there, is chapter 14. It's Lord Spittleworth and his candle, and it's so striking. Can you tell us a bit about where you got your inspiration for this? I love it.
In my mind, I saw a pitch-black background with a flaming candle in the middle, which lit up the villain's cruel face grinning eerily in the darkness. First, I sketched the main shapes, his head, his arm, his body, and the candle. Then I added the details, like the wax running down the candlestick, and the details on his face, like his sticking out nose and narrow eyes. Next, the shading. I shaded one side of his body lighter than the other of his body to show the effect of the light of the candle. Colouring the candle created the glow. First I coloured in the candle's flame. Then I coloured in the yellow, then blended it to orange, which led to red. This was an important part of the picture. The colours had to be as vibrant and as striking as possible. Then I had the long trick ahead to the pitch black background. To make the glow in the dark effect, I shaded the black into the red around the outline of the flame. This also made a light flickering effect. Altogether, it took around 5 days until it was completed.
Wow, well, it was well worth the effort. I think it's quite striking. Sienna, I also hear that reading the Ichabod was one of your highlights during lockdown. Can you tell us a bit more about that, please?
I loved reading the Ichabod. I was practically counting the minutes between chapters. I was missing books from the library and I'd read every single book in the house. And I read the chapters many, many times and also read them to my 7-year-old brother.
Oh, wonderful stuff. What would you like to ask Joe?
How did you think of the many brilliant ideas behind the Ichabod? For example, how did you plot Lord Spittleworth's evil plan and Daisy's clever plan to stop it?
Sienna, I just want to say your picture is absolutely magnificent. It was one of my very, very favourites, and I was so glad to see it was chosen for the finished book. And I had my fingers crossed that it would be chosen because I thought it was so wonderful. And one of the things that I love about it is it's so symbolic. of this story, the surrounding darkness. And somehow you've managed to convey both how sinister Spittleworth is, but the power of even one small flame. And of course, later in the story, we see Daisy feeling as though she's got a flame she can't extinguish in herself, which is the hope that she can save the country. So that was the reason I absolutely loved your picture. So you've also asked a really interesting question, because I think there's such a contrast between Spittleworth's plan, which he thinks up on the spur of the moment. He suddenly sees an opportunity. He sees a dead man, and he sees a chance to get a lot of power and money for himself. So he seizes the moment and then works from there. And his objective is all about him. But Daisy's plan is very different, because Daisy it doesn't come to her in a moment. She simply got this conviction that she can make things better in Cornucopia somehow, but she doesn't know how. And her ambition isn't for herself. It really is for the whole country. And then when she meets the Ichabod, she's feeling her way all the time. She can't, unlike Spittleworth, she doesn't see the whole plan in an instant. She just has an instinct that I need to be kind. I need to make friends with this creature. I need it to trust me. And then let's see what will happen from there. So she just goes step by careful step. And of course, her plan, as we know, is a little better laid than Spittleworth's, but he gets away with it for a long time, as I think you'd agree. Sienna, thank you so much for asking such a good question, and I hope that answers it.
Thank you.
Let's head back to the US, where Annika is standing by in Washington, DC. Annika, your illustration is from chapter 10, and that's of the US and Canadian edition, and it actually features the ladies of the court on the palace balcony. Hello, Annika. Can you show us your illustration, please?
Hello.
Oh, wow. Tell us a bit about your drawing.
Ladies of the court on the palace balcony seemed to me to be a particularly colorful and beautiful scene. I imagined a festival with fireworks and a lot of pomp and show. I chose this particular theme because it was a celebration and there was a lot of excitement and anticipation in the air. It was an optimistic moment, filled with hope and the possibility of peace.
Oh, wonderful stuff. Can you tell us, I'm particularly interested in why you decided to enter the competition.
During the pandemic lockdown, the Ichabod story was a very happy thing to look forward to every day. I wanted to participate in the Ichabod contest because I love books, especially all the Harry Potter books. I also love art and drawing, and the contest seemed to bring together the two things that I love most, reading and drawing.
So Annika, you've got the last question for J.K. Rowling. So I'm going to hand over to you.
I love the story of the Ichabod because it was adventurous and hopeful. What is the main message you hope your readers will take away from the Ichabod? And why is this story even more important in today's world?
Well, firstly, Annika, I love your picture so much. You really did convey that sense of fireworks and celebration. And it's an important moment in the story, as you've correctly said, because it's at a moment where Cornucopia is about to go to a dark place, though it doesn't yet know it. And in that moment, to have all of that colour and celebration and pageantry at that moment is particularly poignant. So the themes of the Ichabod for me, and the reason that it is a hopeful story, are that people can change. People can learn and grow. And the way that the Ichabod, I don't want to give too much away if anyone hasn't read the story, but as most people have, I will say, the way that new Ichabods are formed through the bonding is a symbolic creation of the way that we can change. if we want to be better or braver, we don't have to remain what we are. And I think that that's kind of a timeless message. You know, I don't think it's particular to now. As I say, I wrote this book quite a long time ago. I suppose that I believe that kindness, mutual respect, because some of the characters, for example, Roderick is quite a baddie when we first meet him, but through the kindness of his friends, he changes and he shows the real good that's in him. So I think that those messages are always important. They're just always important. And I think when we fail to live up to those things, bad things can happen, as happens in Cornucopia. Perhaps the most important thing that the characters in the book learn is not to believe easy lies, to remain questioning of what you're told, and to believe in goodness, I suppose, because Daisy never stops believing in goodness. She could become very bitter, but she's really the one who saves the country, and she believes in kindness. So that was what I was trying to say.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Annika. And thank you everyone who's asked a question today. And of course, congratulations to all of your winning entries. I'd like to say to Joe, this has been a real honour, and thank you for being with us today. So the book is out, it's publication day, and you must be so happy to finally have the book out there on the shelves.
I really am. You know, this is my 14th published book. And it occupies a very special place in my heart because of the way it came about. This has been such a terrible year for so many people. I don't know a single person who hasn't been affected by this crisis. And it's been a real joy just to give something and try and make things a bit easier, at least for children. So it was a privilege. And thank you to everyone who entered the competition, because I know it lightened the lives of more people than me just looking at that amazing explosion of creativity.
Yeah, and you lit up so many lives there. All the winners were so happy, so well done.
Tu me le montres?
Yeah.
Magnifique.
Je suis trop contente.
T'es fière?
Oui.
Yes! Waouh!
C'est qui a... Il y a mon descendant?